Imagine, if you will, the year is 2026 and the British government has decided that the most dangerous thing on our roads isn't the pothole the size of a small swimming pool or the delivery moped doing 80 in a 20 zone. No, apparently the true menace to society is your 70-year-old grandfather driving to the garden centre. Welcome to Sir Keir Starmer's bold new vision for Britain, where after decades of experience, the over 70s are suddenly being treated like teenagers who just found their father's car keys. But just as the government prepared to roll out the red tape, they ran into a brick wall in the form of a man who knows exactly how to handle a shambles. Graham Cole, better known to millions as the legendary PC Tony Stamp from The Bill, has stepped out of Sunhill and straight into Downing Street's face. He is not just reading a script this time, he is delivering a reality check that has left the Prime Minister looking like he has failed his own MOT. Quick favour, before we dive into how a TV copper just systematically dismantled the government's war on older drivers, a quick favour, if you are loving this sharp, unfiltered look at the state of British politics, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of our viewers have not joined the British Report family yet, and honestly, the notification bell is the only thing in the country currently working without a consultation period. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Done it? Brilliant. Now, back to the show.
Now, lots of things we've been talking about today, including Labour planning to perhaps change driving laws in a way that could put drivers over the legal limit after having one drink. I don't have any sympathy for this because I believe that if you drink, you shouldn't drive. End off.
Yeah, no drinks at all.
No drinks at all. So I don't really know why we're debating this, but apparently some people are like, well, I'll have one or two. I'll be okay after that. You're not. And particularly we talk about country pubs.
Yeah, rural
country
pubs,
roads are so dangerous, and people who live in the countryside, they think, well, they can drive them because they know them inside out. But people who are not from the country don't know them. But it just leads to accidents.
Yeah.
That's all it leads to. Anyway, but the worry is, as we go to pub landlord for the Bright Star in Peters Green, the worry is that this could be another nail in the coffin, of course, of this.
PC Stamp versus the nanny state. Let us set the scene. The government has just published its Road Safety Strategy 2035, a document so packed with restrictions it makes a library feel like a rave. The Headline Act, a plan to mandate eyesight tests and potentially cognitive assessments for every driver over the age of 70. If you fail, you are off the road. No more independence, no more supermarket runs, just a bus pass and a lonely afternoon. Enter Graham Cole. Now, Graham is 73, but he spent 25 years and over 1,200 episodes playing one of the most convincing police drivers in television history. He did not just sit in a prop car, he underwent specialist police driver training to make PC Tony Stamp's high-speed chases look authentic. Cole's response to Starmer's proposals? Ludicrous, and he did not stop there. He pointed out the staggering irony of a government that overlooks his professional-grade training just because of the date on his birth certificate. He argued that these proposals smack of an unfair approach and, quite frankly, a lazy attempt to heap the blame for accidents onto the most experienced demographic on the road. It is a classic case of the government looking for an easy target, older people who are generally law-abiding, rather than tackling the much more difficult problem of boy racers hooning around with impunity. As Cole rightly said, we all want safer roads, but picking on the elderly is not road safety, it is ageism with a clipboard. The data gap. Who is actually dangerous? Now, Keir Starmer and his Transport Secretary like to talk about data-driven policy, but as Graham Cole and groups like Later Life Ambitions have pointed out, the data does not actually support this sudden crackdown on the over 70s. In fact, if you look at the statistics, it is the 17 to 24-year-olds who represent just 6% of licence holders, but are involved in a whopping 24% of fatal and serious collisions. In contrast, older drivers are statistically some of the safest people on our motorways. They have the experience, they have the patience, and they generally do not feel the need to record a TikTok while doing 90 in a residential area. The government's target is to cut road deaths by 65% by 20. A noble goal, certainly, but by focusing on mandatory eyesight tests for 70-year-olds, they are essentially trying to fix a leaky roof by painting the front door. Alan Lees from Later Life Ambitions put it perfectly. These plans give the distinct impression of a government fueling unhelpful and untrue stereotypes. They are seeking to characterise all older people as potentially infirm and irresponsible. For many in rural areas, their car is not a luxury, it is a lifeline. To threaten that independence based on an arbitrary age threshold is not just absurd, as Graham Cole put it, it is a fundamental misunderstanding of how Britain actually works.
How do you feel? I mean, this has been described as the death knell for pubs by Nigel Farage and Reform UK. I mean, we saw that Rachel Reeves yesterday declining that additional support for pubs. How is the industry standing up against all of this?
Well, I think the term the death knell is not probably right in this instance. That's been sounding for quite some time now. Excuse me. In general, the effects that sort of with the duties, the VATs, the whole package that this and previous governments put together, I think they've collectively just built up the emphasis of getting rid of pubs altogether. If I'm perfectly honest with you.
The drink drive dilemma, 1967, called "It wants its limit back." But the war on drivers does not stop at the age of 70. The new strategy also includes a consultation on lowering the drink drive limit in England and Wales. Now, this limit has remained unchanged since 1967, and we are currently the outliers in Europe with the highest limit. The proposal is to bring us in line with Scotland, dropping the limit from 80 milligrams to 50 milligrams of alcohol per 100 millilitres of blood. On the surface, it sounds sensible. Who could argue against stopping drink driving? However, the sting is in the tail. The government is also considering alcohol interlock devices, breathalyzers that you have to blow into before your engine will even start. Imagine that. Every time you want to nip to the shops, you have to perform a science experiment on your dashboard. And then there is the proposal to suspend driving licenses for anyone suspected of an offence before they have even been to court. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? In Starmer's Britain, it seems the motto is guilty until the DVLA says otherwise. It is a heavy-handed approach that treats every motorist like a potential criminal rather than a citizen trying to get to work. The 6-month slog for new drivers, lest you think the government is only picking on the veterans, they have also taken a swing at the beginners. The strategy proposes a mandatory 3 or 6 month minimum learning period for new drivers. This would effectively end the era of the 17-year-old passing their test just days after their birthday. Instead, you would be forced to hold a provisional licence for at least half a year, regardless of how good you are at parallel parking. The idea is that this gives learners more time to experience adverse weather and night driving. But let us be honest, in the UK, adverse weather is just called Tuesday. Most learners get plenty of experience with rain and darkness within their first 3 lessons. This mandatory wait feels less like a safety measure and more like another bureaucratic hurdle designed to keep young people off the roads for as long as possible. It is a one-size-fits-all solution that ignores individual talent and progress. If a student is ready to pass after 3 months, why force them to wait another 3? It is typical of this government. When in doubt, add more waiting time and more red tape.
Well, there's a few different things going on here. So first thing, it's important to say this is about a consultation. The government can't go and do these things without consulting on people. So there's nothing completely planned at the moment. But look, as we understand it, the drink driving limit in England will come down to match Scotland's. Now, England's drink drive limit is out of step with many other countries.
Is it?
We can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but at the moment, you could argue that it sends the message that drinking and driving, to a degree, might be all right. But for us, so we can discuss that. But I think for us, there's a much bigger element here, and that is the commitment by the government to look into the idea of alcohol interlocks for offenders. So just to be clear, this is not about us all having breathalyzers put in our cars that stop us starting our cars. This is about the possibility for a court, when they catch a drink driver, to install a device that stops that driver being able to drive again unless they can demonstrate that they are sober.
What does that device do? Does it cut the engine out if they try and drive?
Yeah, so you can't start the car without blowing into it in a very specific way.
What if you nick somebody else's car or borrow your mate's car?
In theory, yes, but this is about what we can do to make things better than we can today. And what we know is, surely the focus here, if this is around safety, we should be taking the drivers that represent the greatest risk on the roads off the roads.
The suburban accountant in the driving seat. What this all boils down to is the personality of the current administration. As we have discussed before on the British Report, Keir Starmer approaches the country with the assertiveness of a suburban accountant. He looks at a complex problem like road safety and tries to solve it by adding rows to a spreadsheet and imposing mandatory tests on people who have been driving longer than he has been alive. He lacks the common sense that a man like Graham Cole brings to the table, the understanding that experience counts for something. Graham Cole's destruction of these policies is so effective because it comes from a place of authority and authenticity. When PC Tony Stamp tells you that your road safety plan is a shambles, people listen. He has seen the aftermath of real accidents. He knows what the boys in blue actually face. He knows that the danger is not the 70-year-old with a slight cataract driving at 22 miles per hour. The danger is the lack of visible policing, the crumbling infrastructure, and a government that prefers easy headlines to hard solutions. Starmer is trying to smash the gangs of pensioners, while the high streets are turning into ghost towns, and the actual rape gangs Cunningham mentioned are still a looming threat in our cities. Conclusion: time to park the proposals. The Graham Cole intervention has been a massive blow to the government's credibility. It has highlighted a Prime Minister who is out of touch with rural communities and older voters. By trying to improve safety through exclusion and suspicion, Starmer is alienating a huge swathe of the population that just wants to live their lives in peace. As the consultation period continues until the end of March, the pressure is mounting. Will the government perform another of its trademark U-turns? Given the backlash from TV legends and motoring groups alike, I wouldn't bet against it. Starmer might have a 5-year mandate, but if he keeps driving like this, he is going to find himself with a flat tyre and a very angry electorate long before 2020. Thank you so much for watching the British Report. We will see you in the next one.